Let's go live. Let's get live. Oh, we are
We are
live.
live.
What's up? What's up, wrestling fans? I was paying attention to my phone and not the live countdown just now. Welcome to the Two Bros Wrestling Shows. Kevin, how we doing, man?
I would like to say happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there watching, and that includes happy Father's Day to our own Doug. Doug.
Oh, happy Father's Day to you as well, Kevin. You are a cat daddy after all, so
That is true. That is true. Whatever, if you are a father or if you have yet to talk to your father and are lucky enough to still have him, make sure you do that today. We'll even let you, pause this and come back and finish watching us. But yes,
absolutely.
happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Happy
The
Father's Day.
WWE's gift to us was a pay-per-view
Indeed, it
that
was.
we get to talk about in tonight's main event. Also,
Yes.
we'll do match of the week, former of the week at the end. But before we do any of that, I
Hit
think
that
they heard
juice. It was a
big.
bit of a muffled kind of
It's a subdued opening bell for tonight. We do have a little bit of news we want to touch upon. Um, say goodbye to the man from Paducah, Kentucky, at least for the time being.
Are we saying goodbye or are we saying we'll see you on Wednesday nights? What are we saying there, Kevin?
Well, we are probably, if that is the case, we're definitely saying goodbye. Actually, we wouldn't be saying goodbye to Ricochet because Ricochet owns his name. Trevor Mann actually owns the
Ah,
name Ricochet. He used it on the Indies and did not sell to WWE. So if he were to appear in AEW, that would be the name he'd use. And if you're wondering what in the world are these guys talking about, that stretcher and ambulance job you saw Ricochet pull on Raw is the high flyer being written off TV. It was revealed this past week that Ricochet had informed WWE he would not be renewing his contract when it expires later this summer. Apparently, WWE decided just to go ahead and write him out of storylines, let him go home for the duration of his contract. That's what we saw on Monday night. Doesn't mean a reunion isn't possible down the line. Ricochet, of course, only 35. His fiance, Samantha Irvin, is WWE's primary ring announcer. So there's very legitimate case to be made for a reunion at some point down the line, but
absolutely.
at least for a while, Ricochet is a free agent and we don't know what his next plans are.
Ricochet Osprey sounds really good to me, man. Just throwing it out there.
Put it into the universe, Doug.
Right? It's
Um,
it's it's happened before back in the indie days, so maybe we can get that again.
Last week, when Doug, you weren't able to join us, unfortunately, I reported about the continued office restructuring behind the scenes at TNA, including the resignation of the head of creative, RD Evans. Now it seems Evans is all elite. He was spotted at the recent Collision tapings with eyewitness reports saying he was deeply invested and immersed in backstage production duties. So good for him, as I'm sure he is getting a raise compared to what TNA can offer. He also receives high praise from those who worked with him in both TNA and then before that in WWE. AEW honestly could use the production help, so having someone
Yes.
versed in that field is a good thing for all involved. WWE and Pro Wrestling Noah are working together. Pro Wrestling Noah announced earlier today that AJ Styles will face four-time world champion Naomichi Marufuji at the company's destination event at the historic Budokan on July 13th. That Forbidden Door isn't just an AEW construct now. We're seeing way more of Triple H and WWE understanding the larger wrestling ecosystem and the advantages of taking advantage of it and pulling folks in that otherwise may not be seen on WWE television and allowing WWE talent to work elsewhere.
I'm pretty sure that people within WWE have recognized for a while there was just something holding them back from, acknowledging other promotions
I
and
wonder what that
working.
thing is.
I can't put my finger on it, but I mean
I think
it's
I think it
obviously
might have
gone
been
now.
I think it might have been the topic of the show I did last week in your absence, Doug, when we had to pivot because
Oh my.
no new news on that. But
Ah,
the feds are coming for Vince now. If you didn't catch last
yes.
week's show,
Yes.
definitely catch that for that bit of news. No updates on that. But when we're talking about wrestling talent working together and coming into WWE, we know one person who is signed for WWE, but who is not on our television, and that is Jacob Fatu. This week we got a bit of rationale, at least it was reported, the reasons why we have not yet seen the debut of Mr. Fatu to the current Bloodline storyline. Think about WrestleMania. Immediately afterwards, we have Backlash in France. And then where have we gone since? We've gone Saudi Arabia. Yesterday, we're talking about Scotland. Mm-hmm. The next pay-per-view is Toronto. 4 straight pay-per-views. We got Germany coming at the end of the summer. Well, they want to maximize Jacob Fatu's debut, except if you were to put him on television now and insert him into a storyline, he could not follow up on an international pay-per-view because Jacob Fatu is not able to travel internationally due to criminal convictions on his record. So this is something he's been very public about. He made it quite a major part of his storyline in MLW when he was world champion about the hard road he took to be saved by pro wrestling, but he did make a lot of mistakes in his past. Don't know, and I'm sure that WWE thinking long-term does know when and if they would be able to have Jacob travel, but at least for right now, he would not be able to, and that is very likely the reason he has not yet been inserted into the storyline. After this next pay-per-view in Toronto, you're looking at SummerSlam, which is, of course, Cleveland, and then, as I mentioned prior, the one in Germany, but the rest of the pay-per-views are domestic, so maybe in the next month we might finally see what we've been waiting a long time for, but at least we have an idea now as to why that may be.
So maybe this is naive of me, but what do you have to do to get banned from international travel? What did this man do?
I think he is a convicted felon.
Oh my.
I don't know how.
Does that get you banned from international travel? I mean, is he on a watch list? You know, is the Samoan watch list or something?
I have been acquitted of all my felonies, so I actually haven't had to experience this myself. So I'm not sure the answer to that.
Wow. Okay, cool. I'm gonna do some homework.
Yes, an incredible talent. I mean, who has paid his debt to society, and I know once he is revealed as part of the storyline, those of you who have not seen his work on the Indies or in MLW are about to be incredibly impressed. He will add a lot to what is already a pretty cool young Bloodline faction. He has a lot of charisma, and he just has it, and that will be. You will definitely be able to see that from the instant that he appears on your television screen, if you've yet to see Jacob Fatu.
Okay. According to Perplexity, because I just had to look up Jacob Fatu's criminal record. Let's see. When Fatu was 18 years old, he was arrested for armed robbery and served an undisclosed jail term. That's, I guess, armed robbery is it? I mean, not to make light of that, but... I mean,
that old thing, just armed robbery.
You know, that old chestnut, armed robbery. Fatu said, youthful criminal conviction for armed robbery seems to be the primary factor preventing highly touted. Okay, well, okay, this is some dated information. It's pulling from a couple of things, but yeah, it looks like armed robbery and jail time. Huh.
I'm sure there's a probationary period. That probably is preventing or holding up a passport or a visa that would allow him to work internationally. But whatever it is, surely WWE and their lawyers are on it. They knew coming in they wouldn't have signed him if they knew that eventually that this wouldn't pass. So we'll stay on it and anxiously await his return. Or I shouldn't say return, but
didn't they actually tease this with Tongaloa about how he couldn't travel to Saudi Arabia because he can't travel internationally or something like that?
So I didn't think about that, but it could have been an inside.
Kind of yeah.
Well, our last bit of news tonight for our opening bell is a get well soon to Dax Harwood. This week, we learned that he is going to be out for a while. Following his match on last week's Collision, Dax revealed he had been hiding from AEW officials a very serious back injury that had him in pain for months and that he couldn't keep it hidden any longer. He said the injury actually dated back to Dynasty when he did a pile driver on a ladder, which, I don't advise. Don't try that at home. But it does mean he's been hiding that back injury since at least April, and he apologized to AEW Medical and said that he didn't get in too much trouble, that Tony and everyone has been understanding. Did not, though, offer a timetable for his return. It is a very large hematoma that is going to keep him sidelined, and does look pretty nasty. Sometimes that's a minor thing. Sometimes if you let it go, which he obviously has been trying to work through it, it's not so easy to overcome. But hopefully we see Dax Harwood back sooner rather than later. Be interesting to see now if we get some solo action or if we just put FTR on the shelf for a little bit. Probably not the worst thing, considering one has medical issues, the other has legal issues that I imagine are still out there. A reset, probably not the worst idea.
Probably not the worst idea. And you really don't want, somebody known as a tag team to split them up and have one continue. And then their contracts don't fall at the same time. And then there's just kind of weirdness there. If I was Tony, I would put them both on the shelf and just, AEW has a lot of people on the shelf right now, but they also have so much talent that they could be utilizing. So
maybe it might force, sometimes is the mother of invention and necessity,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Let's see who steps up in the absence of Dax Harwood, but Dax get well soon. And with
absolutely.
that, Doug, let's clash at the castle. I realize I'm wearing my Game of Thrones dragon shirt. It wasn't an intentional clash.
I thought it was
but I realized.
Oh, it actually works. I thought it was like a prelude, we are guaranteeing to be out by 9, so everybody can get straight to season 2, episode 1.
I will be watching after I call my father, but yes, we works on multiple levels, including the second ever Clash at the Castle, which took place yesterday from Glasgow. Doug, to me, don't know about to you, another very high quality pay-per-view event, premium live event from WWE. Some really good matches we'll be talking about. There's some endings I wasn't so crazy about. Maybe some booking I wasn't so crazy about. So there is some good with the bad, but there's no way I could give even a thumbs in the middle for this pay-per-view. I was entertained for the full 3 hours.
Absolutely. And 3 hours. Crisp 3 hours and we're out.
It was 3. Yeah.
The Levesque era premium live events are excellent. They're crisp. They're entertaining.
Tony Khan, 3 tight hours. I'm just saying it can be done.
It can be. We don't need 9 hours of wrestling. I mean, well, we probably would watch it. We would definitely watch it, but we don't need it.
Watch it. What we did need, Doug, apparently was a rematch. And let's start with that follow-up rematch. Someone we mentioned earlier is going to be taking a match over in Japan here shortly, and that is AJ Styles, who just yesterday had a pretty brutal I Quit match with Cody Rhodes.
Yes.
Let's talk about the atmosphere, first of all. As with all the international pay-per-views, the Scotland crowd rung it. They were super into Cody Rhodes.
They were. And Cody, man, the boys just started again. New season of the boys is out. Cody has got to change that entrance, man. He is way too much Homelander all the time.
I like me some Homelander, but maybe it didn't work for the. Yeah, not exactly a face.
Homelander is not a baby face.
Cody Rhodes was definitely a baby face who was way over with the Scottish crowd.
Goodness, so over with that crowd.
I was surprised, I don't know about you, to see this as our opener.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess if they, wanted to space out the 2 world title matches, it makes a bit of sense. And I have to say, though, would you have seen Roman opening back
No.
in the day. Yeah.
No.
So maybe for the sake of the title and
Oh,
a still fledgling title reign of the WWE Championship around Cody's waist, that is the only quibble I have with starting with this very, very hot match and a very, very good match.
very good match. I would say Roman would start only if it was with Brock because, Brock likes to get in, get out, and be done, and, go grab a steak somewhere. So,
Or, well, I was going to say something that I maybe shouldn't about Mr. Lesnar.
no.
I don't want to, even the slight possibility that he might watch this broadcast and figure out where Doug lives, because I would totally out you.
It's okay. Wall could probably fall on him if he comes anywhere near this place, but that's a story for another time and kind of explains my absence. So, feel free to just speculate on that in interwebs.
I like the way this one was different than their last clash. It wasn't, I mean, they had what Dave Meltzer, it would be hard to open and follow what you did last month when you closed and got the very first 5-star AJ Styles match in WWE from Dave Meltzer.
Yep.
I don't know that it's fair to compare a regular straight up match with an I Quit match. I think by the fact the stipulation, it guaranteed it was going to be a very different kind of contest and a violent contest. It did not take long for it to move out into the crowd, into the backstage. I really liked Doug, the announcers starting at the beginning with the sort of the history of I Quit matches in WWE, and then started throwing in Magnum TA references from.
I love that. Yes, the Magnum TA, Tully Blanchard, like, I Quit that basically started it all, acknowledging that AJ is 4-0 outside of in other promotions. I think were the words we used, in other promotions.
So even though, Doug, you weren't able to join us last week, Doug and I are still doing the whole Triple H era show.
Yes.
And this is definitely one of those things that outside of the Paul Levesque era would not be happening on commentary. This is the kind of acknowledgement of the broader world and history of pro wrestling that wasn't owned and operated by Vince McMahon, and it just adds so much to the product. It felt like a big moment, and they put it in historical context by talking the full history of pro wrestling and not just WWE's history of pro wrestling.
It's good stuff. What did you think of the ending, though?
I like, before we get to the ending, can we give flowers to Cody's mother? I know that she was married to the American dream and lived and breathed this business for a long time herself. But whether it was her smacking AJ Styles, whether it was her cussing AJ Styles, like she played her role to perfection.
She definitely brought it. Absolutely.
The violence of it, Doug, the non-Vince McMahon era of WWE has blading, and I have to say that it's still, they use it sparingly, which again, Tony Khan, take note, the shows don't have to be 9 hours and every match doesn't have to be a bloodbath.
We're looking at you, John Moxley.
But when you do it sparingly, it actually does have a shock value that you lose if you do it all the time. You can't, and a problem I always had with Hell in a Cell or I Quit matches over the last 15, 20 years, and I'm not sitting here, there's a place and a forum for debating blood and wrestling. We've done that here on the show. However you feel about it, when you have that historical record of these violent, brutal matches, let's take Magnum and Tully in the I Quit match and the buckets of blood there, and then you have these violent contests in WWE and no one bleeds.
Right.
It does diminish the modern match when you look at the brutality of the older matches that you're trying to compare it to. So you can add all that historical context that the announcers did and did so beautifully, and it pay off when you show the brutality rises to that same level as those matches that had come previously. Don't you agree, or do you not like the blading back in WWE?
Oh, I definitely like the color in WWE. Although I think, yeah, I'm not sure where Cody bladed from. It looked like he did like an eyebrow instead of like a hairline, blade, because he was bleeding from like right in here, which is a bit unique. But it, he didn't get that crimson mask flow like I think was maybe the intention. But we still got color in the match, and it was kind of cool to see what AJ with the belt trying to like do the do pulling his head back with the belt, but the belt keeps sliding off because his forehead is just so bloody it can't get a grip on it. It's like it's a great defense. Just bleed all over the place, and you're too slippery to get in holds.
And this was the only match that had blood, which I think again makes it stand out. And it was the match that needed the blood because it was an I Quit match that had gotten personal. So I think that their strategic use of color is a great addition of the Paul Levesque era to modern WWE, and does actually add something. And I know that maybe sounds brutal to say, but it is just true that it is something that is a part of wrestling history, and it was noticeable when it left, especially when you continue to do hardcore matches, TLC matches, Hell in a Cell matches that paled in comparison to the forebears.
Yes.
Middle of the match, Doug kind of settled into a methodical beatdown of Cody, which obviously was setting up the big comeback. I'll tell you, one of the things I was not as crazy about is I did not care for the whole like, oh, wait a minute, he's passed out. But I mean, when did that ever preclude someone from winning a I Quit match?
When like the story called for it. I mean, that's where we are with this.
I mean, any I Quit match in history you look at as a, somebody is, I mean, like think of the famous Stone Cold, like it wasn't an I Quit match, but okay, he passes out, the blood's rolling, and he doesn't give up, but he can't continue. Yes, I know he didn't technically say I quit, but any I Quit match, they could have used that as an out. If somebody just got themselves completely knocked unconscious, they can't lose the match. I mean, it's just one of those weird WWE logical loopholes that they didn't have to employ. Was a better way to go about that. As far as the ending, I know that's what you were getting to earlier when you asked, but I think it kind of came out of nowhere.
Yes, that was my problem with it. It was just over. And AJ's the heel. AJ's the not necessarily cowardly heel, but the heel nonetheless that needs to lose. The right person won. I think it's way too soon for Cody to lose the belt.
I don't think anyone expected any other outcome either, which is probably why another reason it opened.
But it just seems so abrupt. And then for AJ to take the bump anyway afterwards.
So let's talk about that. So, one thing I'll say about the match before it ended, I think one of the spots of the night, I loved the chair throw that AJ, he got the chair thrown into him while he was trying to do the springboard elbow and then fell off of the rope and backwards into the table. One of the spots of the night. He suffered in this match. Yes. Cody, the hero, won the match. AJ, the chicken, said I quit before things got really bad for him.
Yep.
And then the baby face went on to hit him with the stairs anyway.
Yes.
I'm not sure I would have done that.
Homelander would have. Homelander would have just lasered him, cut him in two. Just saying.
Unless, I don't know why you would go that route with your baby face, unless you're setting something up for later, but it seemed unnecessary at that point. You'd already beat him twice. You got him to quit. You made your point. It didn't seem like something a babyface would do.
Yeah, I kind of saw it more as maybe, still that frustration of, hey, leave my mama alone kind of a statement to punctuate it, or at least in my brain, that's what I was trying to make it make sense, because again, Cody's the babyface here. And
Cody's the babyface here. We should have said this at the beginning, but yes, Cody is still your WWE champion. He is the winner of this match. And still, Good effective opener though, got the crowd into it and invested. They never were out of it. They were into this next match as well, which was a triple threat for the women's tag titles. You had Bianca and Jade, your champions, coming in against Baszler and Zoe Stark, and then Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. First, Doug, is there a cooler looking team in all of wrestling, male, female? I don't care what promotion. Is there a cooler looking tag team than seeing Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill pose down in the middle of the ring at the beginning?
It's great. It really is. I mean, I love Cargill's look. Bianca's awesome. Cargill, I keep saying it, Storm, which, I'm building a wrestling X-Men now because I think MJF makes a great Wolverine with the look he's got going on right now. So I've got two of my wrestling X-Men, but that's another show together. But yes, love their look. Fantastic. Love it.
We'll get into the details of this match. I'll quickly say, since we failed to do so at the first match, is that with this match we actually do have a new tag team champion. So the winner of this one was the Hometown Girls, but we'll get to how that occurred. Jade popped the crowd with her just ridiculous level of strength. You definitely see that in this tandem that they've set up, that one is the Ricky Morton and the other is the Robert Gibson, right?
Yes. Yes, that's very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, Jade spends her time on there. She's still green. She's on the apron. And then when the tag comes, the fans pop. That fall away slam / Samoan drop combination where she can, manhandle two of her opponents at once, that got the crowd going. Not sure what Stark's, I want to give her a call out as well. Not sure what it is she calls that flip that she does when she enters the ring, that ends up in like a off the top rope and then just sort of a senton flip.
Yeah.
Man, that thing always looks really, really good, and I really love that. Cargill did start to show some of her greenness. I think the longer this match went on for me, I don't know for you, there was some clunkiness, some missed spots, none more apparent than Jade literally slipping off the top rope when she was trying to springboard into the ring.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, just like Goldberg back in the day, and Tony Khan at least understood this with her. And I think Triple H kept her off TV for the longest time to make sure she was ready. And when they decided to pull the trigger, they put her in a tag team with Bianca so that she could still look good as she continues to learn and probably honestly unlearn a bunch of, indie nonsense that she was got ingrained into her in AEW, or at least from the way that, the WWE looks at it.
I know that she is under the guidance and mentorship now of her tag team partner, and I expected that would continue to a title reign that would end in the split of these two women.
Yes,
I get that you moved the titles to the hometown, or at least the home country opponents in this one, and you did so without Cargill and Bianca taking the pinfall, which you can do in a triple threat. So there's obviously a rematch. It wouldn't surprise me if the mega powers take back their titles. But were you actually surprised this early in the reign of Bianca and Jade to see them drop the belts so soon?
Absolutely. But in hindsight, I think we both should have seen this coming, because we look at all of the Scottish wrestlers and hometown folks on the card.
Who's going to
win? Someone has to win. And without giving away too much of the card going forward, no spoilers here. We're going to get to everybody else's wins and losses, but somebody had to win. Somebody this night had to win.
You can do it without Cargill and Bianca actually losing. So
exactly,
we probably should have seen this one coming.
We had the triple threat. Everybody else that's on the card. We should have seen this one. Should have seen it, but I didn't, and I loved it because I didn't see it.
I didn't see it coming. I loved it too because the winners and new champions have busted their butts since the NXT UK days, and never quite got their footing in NXT proper, and I was afraid were going to be those that would be lost in the shuffle, and they still may end up lost in the shuffle on the main roster just because they're champions, especially the women's tag team champions, kind of has a history of being neglected by the WWE. But thinking good intents moving forward and glass half full, I like these two as champions. They celebrated with not only their home countrymen, they celebrated with their families. WWE made a reference to the fact that Alba Fire had a very emotional couple of weeks. Did you hear about why?
Yes, her mother, last month passed away?
So her mother was visiting her in Orlando. So she'd come over here because they're centered in Orlando, around the Performance Center, and a lot of wrestlers still live in that general area for flight reasons and things along those lines. Her mother and father were crossing the street in Orlando and were hit by a car.
No, I just heard that her mother had died. I presume there was some long illness or something.
Her mom came to her own country to be with her little girl, and her parents got hit by a vehicle, and her mother did not make it. So
that is terrible.
You talk about those tears that she was crying, signifying way greater things than a scripted professional wrestling win. They certainly did. And, nothing makes up for the loss of a parent, and especially in that tragic a way. But my goodness, if you want a feel good moment for someone who desperately and deservedly needs it, this was that moment. I have no qualms with it whatsoever.
Absolutely,
even taking that away, because Triple H was very adamant in the post show that was not the reason they moved the titles, that these women deserved it. And so absolutely know that. I'm not saying that was the reason they did it. It definitely adds an extra layer to this victory, but these are two women who deserve a bigger platform. Cargill and Bianca are going to be fine. They're not going to go anywhere. But this could do a lot to raise the profile of two women who had yet to really get their footing. And what better place to do it than in front of a crowd that you know is going to be hot for them.
Yeah.
Doug, this next contest, we knew going in this was going to be an incredible match. These two have great chemistry together.
Yeah.
Intercontinental Champion Sami Zayn defends and retains his title against Chad Gable. Expectedly, there was a large part of this match that was centered on Alpha Academy, their loyalty versus will they interfere, how much will they abuse will they take.
It's almost like, like a bloodline match where, there's the action in the ring, which is great, but then there's the outside and sometimes in and around the ring and everything that's going on. And, it's, but Triple H does love a good stable drama. And, here we have the Academy, I think, finally imploding. Finally.
Yeah, he did not. I think they must be saving it for television, but Otis didn't turn. He just didn't do what he was told when it came down to choosing interfering on behalf of Gable or rescuing Maxine. He rescued Maxine.
Good call.
I mean, I would have done the same. Yeah, I'm definitely more of the to lift Maxine and carry her out of the arena than I am to confront Sami Zayn in a physical contest.
Exactly.
That's not me. But then again, I'm not, the size of a brick house the way that Otis is. There was a lot of good wrestling psychology. This one started with chain wrestling. Sammy's left arm became part of the storyline before his leg then became part of the storyline. Gable just kind of breaking him down. I thought to myself, if you're the man that takes out Gunther, you're not going to lose this fast. But I have to say, Doug, and I don't know what you think, but there is just part of me that kind of wanted to see Chad Gable get some recognition and some title love in WWE.
I get that, man. I totally get that. I think there was a missed opportunity all the way back to when they were going to reveal Kurt Angle's son, and it ends up being Jason Jordan instead of Chad Gable, so long ago, just to pay off a joke, it just wrote itself, and Gable's great. Jordan was great in his time too. Don't get me wrong, I loved American Alpha, but. Yeah,
Gable's been good for so long,
long,
and he now shows so much personality that he didn't show back in the early days that he clearly has. Yes. And he does have that Kurt Angle level of technical wrestling that he can do just about anything. So I think an Intercontinental title would be a great spot for him. Mm-hmm. This more serious version of him, and not the shush guy, just the actual like technical. Technical master. It would have been awesome to see. It wasn't tonight, and that's nothing against Sammy, and because I would love for his reign to continue as well. But I hope eventually that Gable manages to get that title and that they don't lose focus on him, because I find him extremely interested. I love that series that the two of them went into with the reversals on the suplexes that ended up in. Oh man, that exploder that exploder that Zayn got there. That one Huluva kick looked like it could have been the end. I will say that if you look, that referee should have counted 3. That was the end. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the finish, though. The finish came after yet another Huluva kick that, almost took out Maxine. That's what ended up, that whole distraction there ends up leading to the finish. Sami Zayn. Does this continue, Doug? I know it was kind of a chaotic ending, and I know Sammy's very invested with trying to get Alpha Academy to wake up and stop being abused by Chad Gable. Is this continuing because of that, or does the Alpha Academy go on and finish their story on their own?
I would like to think the Alpha Academy could finish their story on their own, and Sammy can pivot for at least for now until pivot to a new opponent, and let's let Gable run through this, and then maybe swing back around. I think Gable takes care of what's left of Alpha Academy, either rebuilds it bigger, better, and stronger, or goes ahead and completely dismantles it, destroys what he's created, takes out Otis, or at least tries to, and then moves on to something bigger and better, swings back around. Of course, now I'm booking just not to see the Hill get his comeuppance, but to see the Chad Gable get some more action.
I think that there's a way that maybe he gets his comeuppance in the split of his faction, and it doesn't mean that it precludes him from gold down the line. I hope that that's where it ends up, and not just Otis eventually squashing him like a bug, which will eventually happen.
Yes.
But I would want to see him around a title. I think that he's deserving and would make a really fun title reign.
Yes.
I don't know how long they could tease this out, though, because Otis made his loyalties fairly clear. So we're on the precipice of having to move to the next step.
Yeah, absolutely. Something goes down tomorrow. So we'll see.
We will see. Next match was the women's championship match on this card, where Bayley defended her title successfully against the Scottish Piper Niven.
It was Bayley's birthday, so
it was Bayley's birthday. And the crowd was, into Bayley on SmackDown, but they were not into her against
sir.
I think it's really, that's one of the coolest things about the international pay-per-views. It's not just the heat the crowd brings, is the different dynamic of seeing people out of their normal roles. Bayley, who normally the crowd is so into, and one of the reasons why she prevailed at WrestleMania was how badly the fans wanted to see that. These fans wanted to see the exact opposite, which forced Bayley to be the heel without actually turning heel, which, to Bayley's credit, she walked that thin line excellently.
That's because she is that good, though. But she can do that. She can make Piper look good. I mean, Piper just looks good anyway. But and I'm really glad that Piper got like the solo chance to do this and be more. And I'm just so glad that she gets to be so much more than Doudrop now. I'm so happy, so happy for just that.
I know last week was the show that we were going to do about the Triple H era, and we are going to do that
Yes,
show.
we will do it.
We're already dropping those breadcrumbs in this one, from the announcers being allowed to actually provide context outside of a bubble, to your Chad Gables allowing themselves to be more serious, to Piper Niven allowed to be something other than Dewdrop.
Yes.
There's just so much in the way of booking that has improved under this new era of WWE. And you saw it pay off in this match, because even though she lost, Piper Niven came out looking like a much bigger star to the American audience who maybe did not watch NXT UK or familiar with her work on the indies, busting her butt for quite a few years to get to that spot that she was in last night. I love the way that obviously it makes sense in the story of the match that Piper would exploit her size and strength. That was kind of the story of the match. I thought that I never thought, though, that the outcome, despite the fact that it was the home country of Piper Niven, I never felt like the outcome was in doubt. So if there's anything I could take away from this match, is that I didn't wonder who was going to win it.
Agreed. Especially again, since, you know, the hometown girls had already picked up a win earlier in the night, you know, because I think, I don't think, I know I'm with you that I did not expect at all Bayley to lose her title. I expected Piper to look very, very good, but not for her to win.
So were you at all surprised when Lucha Chelsea got involved?
You know what? Even Lucha Chelsea, because Chelsea is great too. You know, even the comedy that, you know, those two work with, it all works, and it's just so much better than the nonsense, that Dewdrop nonsense that she was stuck in earlier.
I find Chelsea Green so hilarious, and then to see her like come back out in the obvious same tartan skirt and like that, but no, who is this? Who is this? Do you think that since their partnership isn't exactly at this point, I guess they've had some history together, but it's not so long running and so prominent that this couldn't be the beginning of friction where maybe a Piper Niven blames Chelsea for the loss?
You know what? I would not have a problem with that. You know, I mean, Piper's, you know, showing, you know, all of her Samoa Joe moves were on display last night.
Dude, that Death Valley driver she gave at the end, that was a believable near fall. Again, I never thought that Bayley was going to lose, but that looked very brutal.
I would actually like to see Chelsea Green, Piper Niven. That could be fun. A lot of fun.
I know we talked about it with the first match. I had it in my notes here for this one as well. Maybe it was a theme. If there, again, we're here to analyze, so the positive and the negative. But if there is, again, a slight nitpick, this was another match where it felt like the ending kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah. That's a fair assessment too, I think, because I don't know. I think I wonder if especially with this crowd, if it's one of those, hey, we have to take this home, and we have to take it home now if we're going to keep the, you know, the refs giving the, you know, the signal to take it home, and then, you know, okay, well, let's go ahead and wrap it and move on. I don't know. Maybe that's where we were with this.
Well, because we did have one more match to go, and that match was what a lot of individuals in Glasgow had come out to see based on their reactions, and that was Damian Priest defending the Universal Championship against Drew McIntyre, the unluckiest man in the history of the Scottish Charlie Brown in the world of pro wrestling. Think about it. He won his contest, his first title in front of no fans, after finally making it, after having been let go, after 3-man band nonsense, after rebuilding himself. He finally got his title back and held it for all of 5 minutes and got screwed. And the man has, again, every supervillain has a legitimate reason for feeling that they're right. They're not lying. Drew McIntyre isn't lying when he says he's been screwed. He's truly been screwed.
So does that make CM Punk the Lucy in all this? They're always pulling the football away at the last second.
Oh, let's get to that. Let's get to that. So we'll start from the beginning. I love the bagpipe entrance.
Yes,
I love the obviously the great hometown reaction. It had a big
absolutely.
match feel for sure. I think it would have had a big match feel if it happened in here in Kentucky or West Virginia. I don't think it
Yeah,
was just that crowd. It was these are two giant size WWE superstars. They had a very much WWE big man
yeah.
matchup,
These
hard
are big boys.
hitting. These are big boys. I like the even from the intro, Drew stepping in front of the camera to block Priest. I mean, the tension that they built right from the outset. It was just an impressive match, even before we get to the ending. I did like Priest, the way he took it to Drew and recovered from what could have been the derailing of this match,
Yeah.
if not the derailing of his reign. That really looked nasty when he got his ankle caught in the ropes trying to flip out of the ring. Did you think that could be an early end to this one?
I thought that could be an early end to that one, and then because there's no way you can. I won't say there's no way, but that clearly was not supposed to happen. But he continued not to sell it, but to work through it, which I have concerns with. You know, I,
Or was he selling it? I mean, was he like, okay, this happened, and yes, it hurts, but now I have to sell it like it hurts because now this. If so, kudos to either way. Kudos to him because I mean, he went on. This was early in the contest. They went on to have a heck of a match for another 10 minutes or so.
I was reading earlier, right before we went live, that I think it was Meltzer that had said that he'd reached out and had confirmed that it was basically a miracle. It wasn't worse than it actually is. You know, so that kind of does imply that there's something is wrong. There's some sort of at least minor injury, but it could have been much worse. I was reading earlier today that there was concern about knee and hamstring, not just the ankle, but so
you got a big man that size hanging from his ankle. That's
That's
a lot of weight and pressure that is being put on a very tender part of the body. So kudos to Drew to just fighting through whatever he went through. And let's hope that it is true that what's being reported is not as bad as it looked, because it looked nasty.
It looked terrible. And to see such a big man like Priest, limping around, and, it's not like he would forget to sell. He was, that pain was there to remind him, hey, you need to limp.
There was the Claymore spot through the barricade. I liked the Claymore counter that into the south of heaven, would looked really cool. It's at this point though that we ended up with some this is awesome's chance. It indeed was, and then we have a ref bump, which the old classic in pro wrestling when shenanigans are about to occur, and we got a second referee out, and this is your finish.
Oh, but we got a second referee out after a visible and audible 10 count from the stadium.
Yes. Yeah. It was normally I guess in this instance the bad guy was the face to these folks, because typically this is the trope that wrestling bookers pull out where the good guy gets the visuals pin but doesn't walk away with the championship. Yes. In this instance, there's a tweak on that, and that the heel was actually the one getting the visual 10 count, but that crowd did not see him as a heel. And the baby face who comes out to screw him, the crowd certainly did not see as a baby face. Actually, I'm not sure that half the internet wrestling community sees him as a baby face. One Mr. Chick Magnet Punk.
But Mr. Chick Magnet, to the credit of the entire production team, that was shot so well. Everybody had to be in their right place. That was just blocked and shot so well for it to be a live event, for it to come together like it did, to have everybody in place, to get that for the folks at home to see it the way it is. Because you just see the ref slide into the ring and start the count. 1, 2, oh, nope, sorry, 2. Little problem there with the shoulder.
So I'm going to get into this in our big finish. So I'm not going to
Okay.
give my feelings on that other than to say I didn't like it, and I'll get into
Oh,
that here in a bit.
okay.
But I will say that this was kind of expected, right? We all pretty much expected that one, Drew's not going to walk out, but two, it's probably going to be because CM Punk gets involved, and those things happen.
Absolutely.
But I guess then Drew obviously is not going to get the Rhea Ripley treatment of winning a main event in your home country. He gets screwed once again. Scotland, for the record, 1-2 on the night at Clash of the Castle from Glasgow. Great main event. Even though I didn't like the ending, great main event, great pay-per-view, Doug. I didn't really have any matches that I thought were throwaways, skippable. All had something to offer that were brought to the table. Some were merely good. Others I thought were excellent.
I think we use this word a lot. A very inoffensive pay-per-view yet again. I think, good to great. I actually really enjoyed the finish of the main event. I thought that was the perfect way for it to happen. And, it just adds more fuel to a WrestleMania, or not a WrestleMania, but a SummerSlam fire that we're going to see, because I'm certain that's where this finally comes together with Punk and McIntyre. But I've got to wonder, who's the babyface, who's the heel, who gets the comeuppance? Is it Lucy always pulling the football away from Charlie Brown, or does Charlie Brown finally give Lucy what's coming? Yeah, I'm confused about that booking.
Let's go from our main event to our big finish, because that's a good segue. And I will tell you, starting with Botch of the Week, what I do not like about that finish at all. I am fine for Punk getting involved. I expected Punk being involved. I think that sometimes we get too clever and too cute, and CM Punk as referee is too clever and too cute. If he had interfered, okay, sure. He's got a grudge. He's trying to get back at the man who put him out, and they go on to have their SummerSlam match. CM Punk has to miraculously know that referee at some point is going to be going down, and when he does,
wait a minute. I think I know where you're going.
He had this last-minute video that they put together of him like grabbing a shirt.
Right.
Don't buy it. Doesn't help.
I think it adds to it. It just puts it all together, wraps it up in a little bow. I loved it.
Wait for that ref to go down and see an opportunity, and then go, oh, look at the monitor and run out and do your business. But the whole I'm throwing on a river. I'm like, otherwise, you flew all the way to Scotland without a plan, and you just happened upon a plan because of a ref bump, which didn't happen the rest of the night and usually shouldn't be happening. But I guess you were just going to hang around and see how it all played out.
Sure, why not? I mean, he's there to cause trouble, Kevin. He is an agent of chaos.
It stretched credibility for me, and I did not care for it. Your botch, Doug. Obviously, your mileage varied.
So my botch also is that in this match, actually, because like I said, I have a problem. Just let's rewind here a bit. I don't even remember how long ago this was, but Moxley is wrestling Phoenix, gets a concussion, but keeps going. Now, this wasn't a concussion, but clearly dude was hurt, right? I mean, that was nasty. He's a 6'4", 200 plus pound man hanging upside down by his ankle in the ropes, right? Something went wrong there. Something continued to go wrong. He continues to put weight on it. He continues to wrestle. That only not endangers him, but endangers whoever else is involved in the match. I just think that it's almost that toxic masculinity and that old school mentality of, I've got to keep going. I don't want to lose my spot. And something in my mind makes me wonder, is he thinking, okay, everybody doesn't think I have this spot for long. I'm a transitional champion. If I actually call an audible here, when do I get this chance again? I don't know. I know that culture doesn't seem to exist from everything we hear, but I just wonder what was going through Priest's mind. And don't get me wrong, Punishment Martinez for the longest time, I've loved this guy, but
I sense the need for us to do a whole episode on this, Doug, because in our opening bell, we talk about Dax Harwood not telling
Yes,
AEW Medical for 2 months
exactly.
about a problem that he legitimately had. And then, of course, you referenced the Moxley situation, which also wasn't that long ago. So we have
Yeah.
multiple examples of this happening. And it is a danger, not just to the careers of those who had the injury, it's a danger to the people that are in the ring with.
Yeah, I mean, his finisher's Razor's Edge. You've got one. You can't do a one-legged Razor's Edge.
Cannot.
But
Your performance or performer of the week.
Man, I do this. I think I do this every time we have a outside of the country premium live event, but I got to give it up for Glasgow.
Yeah, man. I'm not going to argue with on that. Yeah, give
Kudos
yourselves a
to
hand.
you, Scotland. You were great. You became a character in this PLE, and I loved it. You kept me entertained.
I think, Doug, you and I have mentioned this on multiple occasions now that just all the PLEs should just be international. Like,
they really should.
Let's do them all international.
Yes.
It won't be long before we're seeing the big ones internationally, just because of the what we're seeing. Like yesterday, you will see a WrestleMania and SummerSlam and Royal Rumble and some of the bigger events. They will start testing those in these markets as well, for sure. My performance of the week, I'm going to give it to Kalani Jordan, the young gymnast who has not been a wrestler, but for a couple of short years has really shown what she could do on NXT. And as of the last pay-per-view, in an excellent women's ladder match, she becomes the first women's North American champion. And people can fight me on this, but NXT is our version, I think, of Stardom. Like, if you want to talk about, sometimes 80% of that broadcast are female matches. I mean, I know it's a co-ed promotion, and they don't promote themselves as a women's promotion, but they will sort of slyly allude to the fact that the best women's division of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that they're wrong. When you look at just who's been called up, and then you look at your Alba Fires and your Aladons, who just we've just been talking about, but just Tiffy time on the main roster. Like, these folks were in NXT just months ago, and they're out of there because of how much talent is pushing them out. So Ruka, Roxanne Perez,
yes,
on and
check,
on and on.
Check.
I mean, their women's division is deep, and Kalani Jordan stands out in that women's division, and she is my performer of the week. Definitely go watch that match. Go watch that whole NXT pay-per-view.
Yes, you do need to go watch that whole pay-per-view, because I went back and watched that. Actually watched that this weekend, and
oh man.
Wow.
Okay, there's another show then. We got to do Doug's reaction to the new NXT is what we need to do.
I think Doug finally came home. It took me a while to get back to black and gold, but I think Battleground brought me back home. Shawn
Michaels did, man. Shawn Michaels is the one who helped bring this whole. I do think that's a show we need to do. Is how we talk about the Triple H era. We need to do one on the Shawn Michaels NXT era, because that is definitely its own thing. And there's a lot that's happened there that maybe goes a little under the radar because of what's been happening on the main roster. But Doug, I digress. Let's bring it on home ourselves here, and let's talk match of the week.
So for me, match of the week, I always like to keep the theme going. I always like to stay within the pay-per-view or premium live event. However, I'm going off script. I'm going into business for myself this week, and I cannot not acknowledge Phoenix Ospreay from Wednesday night. Cannot get past that. If there was better wrestling on TV this week, you've got to tell me where it was, because that was gold, chef's kiss, gold star, 47 gold stars for me, man. 47 easily.
In paper, didn't that already have a Meltzer 5-star before it even finished? I mean, when it was announced, it probably. On paper, there's no way you say that match is happening that isn't probably going to be one of the match of the year candidate. Is what you can have those two. On any random time they touch in the ring. I actually am going outside of the pay-per-view we're discussing, And I'm going outside of the Osprey Phoenix match as much as I loved it, and I did love it.
Oh,
I'm giving my call out for match of the week to that pay-per-view you and I were just talking about, and I'm going
okay.
Roxanne Perez versus Jordan Grace.
Dude.
And I loved it not just because it was a great match. I loved the stakes that were involved. I love the implications of the fact that we can take the TNA knockout champion. We can have our own Forbidden Door. She can come here and not lose a thing, show the broader wrestling world what she can do as a performer. And man, she can do a lot. They wrestled a style that was very different than WWE normally presents.
Yes,
and it was closer to what she does on TNA.
That's what I was going to say. It was much more of a knockouts kind of a match, and it was really good. Although, a problem I had with that match was like a couple of these matches on this pay-per-view or premium live event where we just finished reviewing. That ending kind of came out of nowhere, or at least for me, it did. I was like, this seems it was not awkward, but it's just like boom, and we're done. Great match, wacky interference. Jordan Grace deals with that, goes back in. Yeah. Oh, and
from Dana Brooke. I mean, not Dana Brooke.
Right. Yes. That's Dana. I mean, no.
There was a lot of great wrestling this week, was what we're saying, that you can definitely sink your teeth into. From the pay-per-view we just got through reviewing for you to Wednesday's Dynamite, the match that Doug picked, the NXT pay-per-view that you should not sleep on or overlook.
Absolutely.
Go watch those matches. Doug, we have a lot of pay-per-views that we're going to be talking about in our upcoming schedule, as you can see. Next week, our main event topic, we're going to be previewing Forbidden Door. We've mentioned that name a couple times tonight in reference to wrestlers coming from other promotions. We're going to talk about the actual capital, Forbidden Door being presented not just by New Japan and AEW, but New Japan, AEW, and CMLL, apparently in a triple promotional effort. And then we will be off the week of Forbidden Door to not interfere with that premium live event. And then, dude, we'll be back reviewing Money in the Bank. So a lot happening in the world of wrestling. And the two bros, we got you covered.
We got you covered. So it's that 9 o'clock hour. There are dragons on TV. People need to call their fathers. People need to go watch some wrestling with their fathers.
That's right. And we'll see you back next Sunday night.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.